Matt Gaetz just dropped the Democrats' worst nightmare. He's ready to reveal what they've been hiding for the last 2 years. We're going to look at Gaetz's bombshell announcement. We're going to see the cesspool of corruption that it's revealing. And make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll show you why the Democrats' day of reckoning may indeed be at hand. You are not going to want to miss this. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz has announced that the Republican-led House will indeed release the trove of video footage from J6 that the Democrats have been hiding for the last 2 years. Gaetz, who's been on absolute fire since last week as he led the revolt against McCarthy, getting him to make every concession the Freedom Caucus demanded, he was on the Charlie Kirk show yesterday when he said this.
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy told us he's going to get the evidence out in front of the American people, and that means releasing the 14,000 hours of tapes that have been hidden, that I think would give more full context to that day rather than the cherry-picked moments that the January 6th committee tried to use to inflame and further divide our country. So yes, I do believe that part of this deal is a concession that we are going to get the truth out in front of the American people. And you know what? Kevin McCarthy could have in his victory speech just said, well, the government is weaponized, but he was very specific in his language. He talked about the weaponization of the FBI specifically. His willingness to do that with particularity, I think, shows that he's ready to lower his shoulder and to get into this fight that so many Americans expect us to be in on behalf of the civil rights that we hold dear.
Now, I know many of you are very aware of this, but the government has thus far denied virtually everyone access to their 14,000 hours of video footage of J6 so that we can make an educated assessment on what Matt Gaetz referred to as the cherry-picking snippets that the, I'm glad to say, now defunct J6 Kangaroo Committee selected to show us. And that, of course, is very dangerous. It's highly misleading to cherry pick video selections apart from their overall context. We all now know, in the shadow of the Covenant Catholic School controversy, short video snippets don't tell the whole story. In the absence of longer video, we were treated to some of the most egregious headlines like students in Make America Great Again hats mock Native Americans after Washington rally, or white students in MAGA gear taunt Native American elders. Now, of course, we all know that a much longer video of that encounter surfaced, and it told a very, very different story. It was actually the complete opposite of what these headlines were peddling. It was the students who were being harassed and mocked, and they were doing their best to quell it. There's an old saying in biblical hermeneutics, in the interpretation of written texts: a text without a context, a wider context, is a pretext. In other words, to put something forward divorced from its larger context only ends up getting exploited by another context, one that often has nothing to do with the text. And that's exactly what Matt Gaetz is getting at here. These 14,000 hours of video of J6 completely overturn the now defunct J6 committee's narrative on its head. It's going to be fascinating to see. Now, of course, this is all coming on the heels of the revelation that House Republicans have gathered a treasure trove of text and email messages showing that Nancy Pelosi's office was indeed directly involved in the creation and editing of the Capitol building security plan that so abysmally and pathetically and now appears to have purposely failed on J6. The internal communications were published in a report compiled by incoming Republican leadership in an effort to counter the embarrassingly partisan final report of the now defunct J6 Kangaroo Committee. The reports revealed text from Pelosi's staff to the House Sergeant of Arms informing officials that they, Pelosi's team, had secretly edited the J6 security plan. And the key to those edits is that Pelosi's team had deliberately weakened Capitol security on J6, obviously allowing the riot to happen with minimal defense. Now, of course, this is a stark contrast to what President Trump requested. Reuters reported back in May of 2021 that President Trump did, in fact, originally request National Guard troops to guard and protect hundreds of thousands of supporters that showed up on J6 at the Capitol. We now can see that it was Pelosi and her staff that appear to have deliberately denied that request, and as a result, as the Republican report concluded, they knowingly left the Capitol building vulnerable on that fateful day. And of course, the obvious question all of this is why? What's going on here? Why all this secrecy, especially against the backdrop of the now defunct J6 committee's claim that they wanted the truth and nothing but the truth to come out? Well, we're going to answer precisely that and a lot more. But first, in the midst of all this economic insanity, my good friend Taylor Welch has created a brand new training series designed to help you fortify the number one tool you have against any economic hardship, and that is your righteous mind. And it all comes straight out of the life experiences one of the greatest leaders in all of world history, Sir Winston Churchill. In the Churchill Mindset series, Taylor masterfully walks you through Churchill's brilliant leadership choices and then distills that into frameworks that you can use to face your biggest challenges. Click on that link below or head on over to welchequities.com/Turley right now to secure your copy of The Amazing Mind of Winston Churchill at their lowest price ever. Again, that's welchequities.com/Turley. Back in September of last year, FBI Special Agent Steve Friend filed a whistleblower complaint with the Department of Justice Inspector General, accusing the FBI field office of, in effect, cooking the books in order to exaggerate the threat of what they called domestic terrorism, using the J6 investigation as a pretext to harass conservatives and patriots in general. Interestingly, the revelation came on the heels of revelations from a New York Times reporter that there were indeed what he claimed were, quote, tons of FBI informants among the people who attacked the Capitol. It doesn't seem that we need a whole lot of imagination to figure out what's going on here. In fact, it's precisely what the new committee chaired by Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is tasked to investigate: the weaponization of government, or as Matt Gaetz and even Kevin McCarthy are saying, the weaponization specifically of the FBI. And you see, it's this weaponization that ties together everything. The narratives we've been peddled regarding J6, the Mar-a-Lago raid on Trump's home, the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up, the collusion with social media and deliberate censorship. All of this points to an epidemic of partisanized weaponization inside the FBI. And so what the J6 committee ultimately is, or was, I should say, is it was nothing more than one big, massive showboating smokescreen. It was a cover-up committee that deliberately, and that's the key, it deliberately sought to conceal, with the help of the lamestream media, what was really happening behind the scenes. And what was happening is that our government was becoming increasingly weaponized against President Trump, his inner circle, and, as of J6, his ultra-MAGA supporters. Weaponized legalism effectively turns our nation into a banana republic that investigates a person in search of a crime, as opposed to investigating a crime in search of a person. The glorious news is that it looks like the veil is about to be torn on all of this. Tens of millions are going to find out what's really happening. And there's nothing a now defunct committee or an increasingly defunct legacy media can do to stop it. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the legacy media getting caught red-handed. Wait till you see what it's all about. Make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.